Warning, you are about to enter the BGP suite. No thongs, no boy shorts, no thigh highs, no commandos are permissible. BGP, big girl panties only. So pull up to woman up. And no, please don't leave with your panties in a bunch.
Welcome to BGP. Today we're going to be speaking on the topic of toxic mothers and their daughters and the effects that it have on them as adults. This topic came to me as I was watching a video on Instagram where a mother and daughter was on their live, and on the live the daughter can be heard saying, I hate you, Mom, I hate you. And the mom is sitting there saying, I hate you too. Like, I wish I would have swallowed you. Your dad ain't shit. Your dad was a crackhead. You know, I didn't want to have you. And he had, just going back and forth saying the most disrespectful things. And it got me thinking about toxic relationships between mothers and daughters. I can't speak on other communities, but I will focus on ours. And I can say that one thing I know is a lot of mothers love their sons, love their sons. But they work the fuck out of their daughters. They treat them completely different. They're much harsher and harder when it comes to their daughters. So today, I feel like, why not discuss it? Let's talk about some of the toxic traits from toxic mothers in the Black community and how it affects not only the daughters, but them once they become adults and how they interact with other people as well as their own children. So, Mona, I'm going to start with you today. Are you aware of any toxic mothers, and what's your thoughts on toxic mothers?
Okay, first of all, what is a toxic mother-daughter relationship? What would you consider that toxic mother-daughter relationship?
Well, I'll start with the definition. Toxic, of course, is usually like poisonous, right? The dumping of waste, harmful, unpleasant to be. So if you want to put that to a person, we could say that they're very toxic. They have like different traits that can be very damaging to a child, especially a daughter, right? So, for example, you have like the emotional abuser toxic trait, right? Where she literally can look at that daughter because that daughter looks so much like their dad and be like, I hate you because you look just like your father. Mm-hmm. Or you ain't shit, just like your father. That's an example.
Okay. So, let's take it back. And I have a question. Mm-hmm. How many of us, and I'm asking the ladies also in the audience, were told by a relative or by a friend that once you become a mother, you become that child's first teacher? And however you shape and mold that child emotionally, mentally, nutritionally, financially, spiritually, and physically is going to be very detrimental to that child within the womb, outside of the womb, and for the rest of their lives. Mm-hmm. How many, who taught us that? Did somebody tell you that?
I've definitely heard that.
I was never told that, but I had to learn it as I became an adult and when I had to deal with some of the emotional dysfunction that came from my household.
So hold on.
Okay.
So I never heard that either until here of late. Yeah. So when we think of motherhood, we think of, we're going to get pregnant, we're going to have the baby, we're going to change the baby, we're going to feed the baby, we're going to cuckoo and ha-ha and teach them their ABCs, and that's it. There's so much that goes into that child. So that's the first thing. If we weren't taught the importance of that, then we take it for granted that we are the first teachers. So they have Lamaze classes that teach you how to breathe when you get ready to go into labor. Where's the motherhood class? You know, and when I thought about this topic, I thought about, remember when the young kids were in high school and they had to take that little baby home, that little mechanical baby home, and they had to take this little mechanical baby home.
Or an egg. They used to use an egg.
Well, we're going to use the baby. It was the egg or the mechanical baby, or they had this little gidgy watch.
Yeah.
The watch. So the baby, they had to take this baby that looked like home, and the baby would sound off periodically. So they needed to be changed, they needed to be fed, they needed whatever they needed, and they never knew when this task would have to be done. So this baby might wake up 2, 3 in the morning, and you got to feed this baby. So the assignment was to keep the baby alive. And most of the children killed them babies.
Oh.
You couldn't do it.
You
Too
remember
much,
that?
yeah.
So I think that if we had a system in place that way, or somebody had told us the intricacies of being a mother, that a lot of women would opt out or get the information that they need, because we think this baby doll gonna start crying. This baby doll might have colic, and we don't know what to do. We didn't fed this baby, we didn't change this baby, and we don't know what to do. The baby crying, we crying. So now we're trying to call mama. I'm trying to call Neisha because she had a baby before me to get this information, but we really don't know. So I think that's where it all begins. So if you find yourself in a position, and yes, I do know some mothers that have toxic relationship with their daughters and back and forth. If you don't know how to talk to your daughter or how to raise this daughter, there's going to be some, I hate this word, toxicity there.
Yes.
If you find yourself in a position where you got pregnant and you didn't want to be, and like Neisha said, I hate the baby's daddy, I'm going to take it out on that child.
All that resentment.
That child looks like that man
Splitting
that
image.
left me, and I don't like it.
Right.
So yeah, there is some toxic relationships between mothers and daughters.
Okay.
I have to agree. I know a lot of times we don't realize what we're exposing our children to that makes them resent you.
Yes.
A lot of times I know in my own situation with having abusive issues in my household, a lot of times my children felt abandoned, my daughter especially, because she would tell me, don't let him come back, don't let him come back. And I'd be like, look, I'm the mama. I'm the grown one here. So she began to see me allow other people to disrespect me. So then in turn, she had no respect for me. So we have to always be mindful that they are watching what we are allowing. And it becomes the norm to them. Like, oh, this is what you allow? Oh, I would never. So now my daughter, and for a long time, here she is now 30 plus years old. And we are just getting into a good space because for so long she saw me allow people to disrespect me that she in turn started doing it too. First very subtly and then very aggressively. And so because I didn't own the part that I played in that, I was defensive.
Gotcha.
And instead of just owning it and trying to handle it and be help her through that part and learning that, look, I made a mistake and just owning it, I was defensive. Don't talk to me like that. I'll beat your ass. Just nasty. And then I had to realize, okay, I played a part in why she feels this way. I played a part in her disrespect and all of that because I had this feeling like I never would talk to my mother like that. Well, my mother never exposed me to none of that shit,
Right.
So I get it now. And we are in such a better place now when I finally just sit back, take a deep breath, and I want to snatch somebody up or anything. And we just are able to talk through it. Once I owned the part that I played. And I think that's where mothers get it twisted. Yes, there's a level of respect that we owe them. But then there's that subtle part that says, like I could be right in front of my mom and she'll ask me something. And then she almost like looks at my mother. What would you do, mother? You know what I mean? Like she don't even trust my judgment.
Wow.
You know what I'm saying?
So yes, there are some young ladies that do seek outside validation from their mothers. Because just like you said, they think you're fake.
Yes.
Or you don't walk the talk. So they seek outside validation because they don't see it in you.
Exactly.
So I want to ask you a question because I think it's very important that we as women be transparent about our mistakes. Did you ever apologize to your daughter for her insight as a young lady to have more maturity than you did while you were in your situation?
Yeah.
You see what I'm saying?
Absolutely. Okay. I did. And what I can say is that early on, I saw her starting to pick some of the same type of people. Like she had a guy who broke her glasses and threw them out the window. I was like, what? So I started seeing that pattern. And then right away, I knew I had to use my own mistakes as an example. This is not what you want to do. This is wrong. I apologize. I know this is what I exposed you to. I abandoned you, basically, because I was so focused on trying to make that relationship work that I neglected my children. And it took a long time for me to own that part and admit it, and not realizing those were the reasons why she had those problems. And she told me one day straight up, when we were in the trenches of the mess, she said to me, she said, I'm going to never be like you. I don't want to ever be like you. And it hurt my soul.
Yeah,
and I mean, like, down to where we dress, like we are opposite of night and day. She will never. And I know that has to do with what she saw. So,
in the past.
Yes.
Yeah.
All right.
And I think, wait a minute, I just think that's very important.
Oh, yeah.
That you did have the courage
Finally.
to admit your mistakes and tell her, I love you because you're better than me. You found out some things early on that I didn't find out in my adulthood. And I think for ladies, it's very important for us to be transparent with our daughters when we do make those mistakes.
Absolutely.
Go ahead, Neisha, I'm sorry.
It's okay. So today I just kind of want to give like a mini breakdown of the different styles of toxic traits that generally occurs in these relationships. So I'll start with the shamer or the emotional abuser. And that's the one that like likes to shame the daughter and embarrass her in front of others, like kind of have like they compare like, why can't you be more like so-and-so? Why can't you be more like so-and-so? Because so-and-so does this, and they'll do it publicly in front of others. And what happens is when that starts to happen as they get older, they start to have to seek outside validation because they never really trust themselves, because if their mother, the person that's supposed to teach them, protect them, and love them, is doing that to them, how can they sit there and know how to, place boundaries on themselves as an adult when they never really were taught properly?
Exactly.
Right?
Absolutely. What you said is absolutely true. If you do not have the love of your mother, the admiration of your mother, if your mother is not your biggest cheerleader, if your mother has not taught you certain things, that is one of the reasons why we cannot have a sisterhood. Because
Absolutely.
Mama never told me.
Exactly.
Absolutely.
Mama never said that was wrong. Because if you do not have the love of your mother, you can't trust other women.
Makes
So
absolute
true.
point.
So
Makes
true.
absolute absence. The next one is the manipulator or the controller. They like to control everything: how you dress, how you move, how you talk. If you're not doing it that way, then you're a disappointment, and they will start to get other people involved. And so what happens as you become an adult is, when you start to kind of realize, like, this isn't healthy, this isn't right, or you try to pull away, they get other people involved. They'll call their brothers, they'll call your siblings, they'll call others and be like, Mom is upset, Mom is sick because, she said that you upset her because you didn't do this. And that can also take effect and affect you with your children or your relationships, because now she's always in the middle. And another example of that also is you don't make decisions when it comes to your relationships without running it by your mother. Mother is now, that person that you're dating is also dating your mother too now, because that's how much control and manipulation she has in the relationship. So what are your thoughts on that?
The manipulation, it definitely occurs. I can relate to it 100%. So I think that, again, it's one of those things where you have to once you identify and you see that you're that way, you need to work on it immediately, because we're molding these girls.
Exactly.
We're molding them into who they are, and they're learning from us all these different things. And I think therapy is something that is very helpful. My kids had some mandatory therapy that was required for them, and then doing therapy together is also helpful, if you find those areas. I think, as a mother, again, like Mona was saying, you don't come with a book on how to do things. So we're using stuff from from how we grew up. We're using stuff from our own experiences and all these different things. And our intentions are good, but we make mistakes.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
I think that we have to be very careful when you talk about we weren't taught, and that we use things from our experiences. We use things that our mothers did to us, because sometimes the things that our mothers did to us are the mothers said to us, we knew were absolutely wrong.
Oh,
Yes.
And we vowed one day if we had children that
We
we
would
would
never
never
do
do
that.
it.
Yes.
But it's become so ingrained in us
Yes.
that we find ourselves doing those things. So we have to check ourselves. And as far as therapy, you know, Neisha and I used to talk a lot, and we were talking about women having babies out of wedlock and the mental effects that it has on them that go along with the physical effects.
Yep.
And it was very profound when Neisha said that she would advise a woman to go seek therapy
Absolutely.
when she becomes pregnant because of the changes that she is going to go through. So I
Okay,
think that's
yes.
very profound that, yes, we do need therapy. Manipulation. Some women manipulate their daughters because they see something in their daughters that they didn't have.
Absolutely.
Their youth,
Absolutely.
their freedom,
Absolutely.
their accomplishments. Maybe their boyfriends, their man, their husband, how they treat their daughters, and they never receive that treatment. So it could be a lot of jealousy between mothers and daughters.
Yes.
And
Yes.
it goes both ways, actually, because, I definitely can, I facilitated a parenting class for years. And one of the things I did notice, it was a lot of that, where the daughters were jealous of the mothers or the mothers were jealous of the daughters. It goes both ways.
Yeah. But I mean, a lot of times I see more mothers being jealous of their daughters than the daughters being jealous of the mothers. And I mean, so much so that you'll see mothers dressed like their daughters. You'll see mothers showing up at events with their daughters like, Mom, why are you at the club?
Yeah.
Why are you with my friends? Why are you dating so-and-so? And, you know, I was talking to so-and-so. Like, you see a lot of that happening with some mothers who are really, in my opinion, they're stuck. It's like something happened at a certain age and they didn't get past it.
Yeah.
But kids came into play and it's like they're still stuck in that. So even though the kids are growing up, they're still stuck there. So they're starting to behave like a teenager, right? Like a teenager.
Absolutely, trying to make up for lost time.
Yes.
So,
yes.
especially in this era of social media.
Yes.
When a daughter sees her mother on social media, 30, 40, 50 years old, dressing like a thot, you know, we have to be, as mothers, very discreet in the way that we move in public on these social media apparatuses.
Yeah.
Because we're always going to be somebody's mother. And we do not want to embarrass our children with our refusal to grow old and to become classy and sophisticated and the role model for young ladies to want to grow up to be like. We want to be young. We don't want to age gracefully. I'm not talking about me, but you know, other women, they somehow don't want to age gracefully. They want to compete with the younger people, and that includes their daughters. So mother-daughter competition is immature. You're not supposed to be competing with your daughter. Now, there are some clothes out here that if we were in our 20s, we would tear it up, you know.
Absolutely.
But that time is past.
Yes.
So it's correct when you say, I got pregnant, I had dreams deferred, I lost my youth, and they blame it on the daughter. And then they start saying, like the manipulation comes in, if I didn't have you, I could be a movie star. I sacrificed A, B, C, D, E, F, G for you. You need to be appreciative. And that is very manipulative. And we have to talk about the abuse
behind
that
it.
a mother has for their children. And it's very strange that if they had the choice to be taken out of the home versus staying with the mother, they're going to choose that mother.
Yep.
Because that's their safety net, regardless if it's abusive or not.
Because that's all they know. And that's why
know.
they think it's normal. And it's like, well, if this is my mother, again, and she's talking to me this way, it must be okay. They don't realize that it was a form of abuse and the different styles of it until they get out and grow up. Or they see other families and they're like, wow, her mother doesn't talk to her that way. Her mother doesn't treat her that way. His mother doesn't talk to them that way. And so that's when people start to kind of realize, like, damn,
Wow.
I came from a bad environment. But you're correct. Like another thing that I want to point out that we hear a lot in our community when it comes to moms is like, you should be grateful. I brought you into this world. I cook for you. I clean for you. I buy you this. And it's like,
That's your job.
That's your job, though. You
Exactly.
We didn't ask to come here. It's your job. You decided to be a mom. You decided to bring this child into this world or children. So you got to own it. You got to stand into it. You can't shame the child and make them feel guilty because you chose to do that.
Right.
But a lot of women don't know that, and they come from environments where that's what was said to them. So they in turn say it to their kids, and it's backwards thinking. It's backwards thinking.
You know, there was a time when I used to sing, I used to write. I've been writing since I was a little girl. And I wanted to be a journalist. I wanted to say, good afternoon, this is Ms.Lishey from KTTV, reporting live. You know, I used to dance, I used to act. And so when I got older, I asked my mom, I said, hey, why didn't you never encourage me? Why didn't you, encourage that talent in me? And she said to me, don't blame me for your failures.
Oh,
Wow.
So I took that to heart for a long time, and that affected me for a very long. And then I had to reach the conclusion that some parents were never meant to be parents. They just didn't have it in them. Like I said, they got pregnant. They thought they was going to have this little cute doll. It became more complicated, more overwhelming for them, and they just did the bare minimum. Or like we say, they didn't know what to do because there's no handbook. And once I reached that resolution, my God, there was like a weight lifted off of me. Once I said, some people weren't meant to be parents.
That's so true.
You know. It is what it is, you know.
I've seen it all the time where people can walk away from some kids so easily. Their kids, maybe they made a mistake, or maybe they had an addiction issue, and these kids get picked up by DCFS and end up in foster care. And then you have these, I'll just make some more babies. Yeah. And they can, just because you have a vagina and you can push a baby out does not mean you have maternal skills. And it's just, sometimes it's not even in you to do. So
some women become pregnant when they're depressed.
Yes.
True.
When they have their own little mental issues.
Yes.
Exactly.
And this just adds on to the equation.
Yeah, absolutely. And then the last one that I kind of wanted to throw in there was the physical abuser. Because we also have that mother too, where they literally, I had a bad day, so now I'm going to beat the shit out of my kids. I'm upset, so I'm going to beat the shit out of my kids.
Right.
Things didn't go right, so I'm beat the shit. And some people be like, well, that's just, it's discipline. And it's no. When you start to have kids weapon and bruising, and some, have been, killed. And all these other things going on simply because things aren't working for you, that's abuse. And this is why some kids grow up and the way they deal with their aggression is they fight.
Exactly.
At an early age, in school, elementary, junior high to adulthood, where they want to fight everybody, especially women, But it's the abuse, the physical abuser. I've seen that as well, where mothers are so frustrated, especially single moms, so frustrated with the way things are going that they take it out on that daughter.
And I even have seen where when you talk about jealousy between the two, where sometimes the mother is jealous because, sad to say, but the daughter has maybe been molested by her boyfriend.
Yes.
And she right away will take the side of
the abuser.
Yeah.
Yes.
And here's this thing where they end up breaking up. And so she's resenting, and I've seen this firsthand, she's resenting now the daughter because you ran off my man, and it's sad to say, but this happens quite often. And so every chance she gets, she's abusive to that girl. She snatches her up. She beats on her, whatever the case may be. That happens more often than you hear because it's an underreported crime that, a lot of times when children are molested by a boyfriend, those kids get a really hard rap.
When you think about being physical with your children, you have a lack of communication skills.
Absolutely. Yes.
We used to get that look and know to go on and get the hell up out of here, or to keep our mouth shut, or okay, enough is enough. We used to get that look. You have to learn how to communicate with your children. Once you communicate with your children, there's a difference between a quick little pop And then
beat
just
down.
a beat down karate.
Mm-hmm.
I learned karate
yeah.
on their ass real quick.
Yes.
And all of there's a big difference. So you have to learn how to communicate with your children, and they will appreciate your communication. A lot of physical things happen between mother and daughter because when the young ladies were young, they let those children run around. They let them run rapid.
They thought it was cute.
They let them do whatever the hell they wanted to do. They were disrespectful. They were all over the place. And as they grew into adults, now they're trying to give them some discipline that they never had. Right. And it's too late. And now they're bucking up against them.
Yes.
Exactly.
Yes.
Or they start smelling themselves and they're a little bit taller than you and they think that they can take you, so they're very disrespectful. But you need to communicate with your children. And once you punish your children, you need to also tell them why you punish them.
Yes, yes.
Yeah.
And I think that you will have better relationships. But sometimes you have generations of beatings.
Yeah.
The mother was beat. Her mother was beat. And that's the only way of discipline that they know for their lives.
Absolutely. I mean, that's like I'll go back to one of the conversations we had when I said after I realized I was going to be a mom, I went and got therapy. And, a discussion that I had with my parents and whatnot in a session was how I felt some of the ways that they did things when we were growing up was a bit of a reason why I became who I was as an adult, right? And when we talked about it and I pointed certain things out, the first thing that both my mom and dad said, well, that's how my parents did it. That's how their parents did it. And that's how they parents. So they didn't realize it was wrong.
Right.
Until it was pointed out by me. So I broke that curse, in my opinion, because I'm completely different with my daughter. I knew, no, this isn't working, you know.
Right.
And so a lot of people don't do that. They don't even realize that it's dysfunction until someone else points it out and be like, why do you do that?
Not to mention effective. There's a book called. Hey.
Go. Hey.
I just heard my dog too.
A BGP.
Okay.
Auntie, I'm doing a live already.
So there's a book called Effective Black Parenting, and there's a course that I took on that and how it goes deep into how we used to, a lot of our parenting comes back from and connected to slavery,
Absolutely. Yes.
and whoopings, how that became like our first go-to because we didn't want our kids to get beat by,
somebody else.
Exactly.
And
so,
some people still use that.
Right. And so that has been our go-to thing. As soon as a kid is bad, we whoop. But there's some other ways, like Mona pointed out. Good communication. I think that there always has to be some kind of consequence, but it doesn't necessarily have to be corporal punishment. There's all kind of different ways that you can, discipline kids. Sometimes when I say that, I get such a backlash, like, I'm whipping my kids. And I get that. I mean, if that's what you choose and it works for you. But I think that a lot of times kids get that, and as they get older, they can't separate the two. Is this abuse, or is it okay for him to hit me because I got hit when I was? Right. Exactly.
Right.
From the very person I love,
right,
was whooping on me. So is this okay that I'm getting whooped on by my boyfriend? You know what I mean? So it can get really confusing. So we have to. Although I commend them for trying to do the very best that they could, as our parents, because the belt was that thing. You sit it up there, it's rolled up. I'm going to get you with that later on. And I think there's so many different things that we could do.
Sometimes they made you go get the switch.
Yeah. Yes.
And that was enough for you to calm down and get you some Act Right juice. What Neisha said about breaking the curse. When we were growing up, we didn't have an opinion. They told us what to do. We said, we got to it. We couldn't roll our eyes. We couldn't, poke.
Don't breathe heavy.
Yeah, suck your lip. You're in trouble. So it was speak when you're spoken to. So for Neisha to be able to have that right to say, this is what you did. This is how I felt.
Right.
Which she said broke the curse.
Yes.
Was very important. We were taught to stay in a child's place.
Ooh, that part.
We were taught to don't be in grown folks' business. And this generation, or Generation X, or generation, the millennials, they say respect is earned. They don't have to respect an adult. We were taught to respect our elders.
Right.
Crazy, drunk, cuckoo, we were taught to respect that, and then later on, we can take that away. So it was it's very important that Neisha was able to be vocal with her parents, and they accept it and don't use it against her.
Right.
And that's how we open up the doors of communication between children and their parents.
Right.
It's very important that you speak to your children, that they know they have a voice.
Yes.
That they know they have somebody in their corner, a person that they can come to. There's a lot of women out here that want to be their children's friends. We can't be friends because friends accept all the things that you do. Your mother is going to discipline you. There's going to be some emotional consequences. So not to be her friend, but to let a child know you can come to me for anything. I think I don't have a daughter, but I have a son, and we always had an open line of communication, and tell me everything. And then when he got old, I'm like, TMI.
I know, yeah.
TMI, I don't want to know that you took a girl down, you only lasted a minute. That's too much information.
TMI.
So we do have that interchange of information that he's not fearful, and we don't want our daughters to be in fear that they'll be embarrassed, or they might get in trouble because they did something, We want to be our children's heroes. We want to be our daughters' role models. Exactly. We want to be the woman that they look up to and aspire to. We also have to think about this, too. There are young ladies that cannot stand their mothers for the simple fact that they'll tell their daughters to clean the room, or they'll tell their daughters to take a bath, but they haven't taken a shower. Or they, that fly is a mess. I see, and you're doing the side eyes threw me off. But they only see their mothers get dressed up or smell good when a man is coming or they have a date. So we have to be very vigilant about how we represent ourselves to our children. They need discipline, they need limits, but we need to stand on our square and be those models for what we speak out of our mouth.
Exactly.
Absolutely. I agree. So, you've already got the ball started with solutions. So those are some really good solutions. Adrianne, do you have any?
What came to mind is I think it's important that we know our children's love language, our daughters especially, because each kid is different.
Absolutely.
If you got a house full of kids, you're going to find that each one of them responds different. Some you don't have to discipline. I know with my son, all I had to do is exactly what you said, that look, and he straightened up. My daughter challenged me all the time. So when afterwards, of course, I learned their love language, and I know how to approach this one way, and I know how to approach my daughter a different way. I think it's real important, like you said, with communication, you learn these different things. You learn what makes them tick. You learn how to get them to speak to you and to open up and things like that. So I think learning their love language, and if you ever get an opportunity, it's a book. There's a book called The 5 Love Languages, and you use it in your regular relationships.
Yes.
Boyfriend, girlfriend, husband, wife, but it helps with the kids as well.
Yep, absolutely.
We have to remember that, our daughters have to remember this, that we don't want to discipline you.
Exactly.
We don't want to be harsh towards you, but we want to make sure that you have a flourishing life. And it hurts our feelings when we have to say negative things to you, when we have to discipline you. But I'm going to piggyback off of what Adrianne said. Once you're speaking to your children and you see that look, then you need to say, ooh, that's not the right approach.
Yeah.
I got to think of a different way. You don't want to... Well, you kind of want to scare them.
But not to the point where when they become adults, they cut off. They cut off. They shut down instead of because now they don't know how to. That's something that I point out now when I see it with adults. When they do that, I'll be like, so you grew up in that household, huh? Like your mom gave you the look, or your dad? Who gave you the look? My grandma. Got it. Okay. I'm like, because when it comes to us, it's okay to have a healthy discussion. It's okay not to always agree. It's okay to disagree. You don't have to shut down. You don't have to get quiet. You're an adult.
Exactly.
But because of their upbringing and how they were taught, a lot of both men and women, a lot of them will just, if someone raises their voice just a little bit, they'll get quiet.
Yeah,
they won't say nothing else. They won't say nothing because they come from an environment with that's what was taught.
Right.
You know what I mean? So I agree with you, Mona, that it's that look is not healthy. We have to learn as parents to be better communicators, not only for us, but for our children, so that when they grow up, they know how to communicate too, without being disrespectful,
right.
but be able to communicate too. If we're frustrated, we have to also understand we can't take our frustrations out on our children because that really messes up their psyche. Yeah. It really does.
I think learning that it's all in the tone. You can get the same point across without cussing them out, without raising your voice, and they respect you better. When you keep it at a monotone level and you are just communicating without the raised voices, because raised voices change the whole, it changes everything. Yeah. So when you can come to a situation calm, even if you have to take a time out for a moment and then come and revisit that situation again where you both are, you're calm, they're calm, and then you can choose your words better. Yeah. You can even your facial expressions and your body and your mannerism is different once you have calmed down. So I think that's what when you talk about communication, that's key.
Yeah, you hit it on the head. Once you find yourself getting ready to snap, crackle,
yes,
woosah, because you be like,
right back.
Okay.
Let me go take a breather. Let me go take a walk.
Right.
Let me turn on a nice little song.
Exactly.
And then come back to the situation. I think that first you have to acknowledge that there is a problem here. Second, you have to want to solve the problem. Once you want to solve the problem, once you say, I want to have a great relationship with my daughter, then you're going to seek the help that you need. I think a lot of bad relationships between mother and daughter happen because there's no man in the home.
Absolutely.
When there's a good man in the home, he's not going for this back and forth bickering between mother and daughter. That's very important. It's very important to maybe have a mediator that is going to be unbiased. Yeah. They're not going to choose a side. They're going to listen to both sides and reach a conclusion for you when you can't do it for yourself.
Right.
That would be my suggestion.
Awesome. Well, I was going to talk about the gaslighter, but I don't know.
What's a gaslighter?
Gaslighting, when I'll give you an example. Mona, don't drink that water. And then you say, but I didn't drink the water, Mom. You said don't drink the water. I never told you that. I never said that. You're tripping. I never told you not to drink the water. You're tripping.
Make you think you're crazy.
They make you think like that's the gaslighter. That also happens in relationships.
The narcissist.
Yeah, I try not to use that word because I notice a lot of more people are starting to use it.
I can understand that word.
Yes.
Gaslight.
I go with the gaslighting instead of narcissist because so many people be like, "You're a narcissist. He's a narcissist. She's a narcissist." And it's like, are you a doctor? Like you've gone to school for that?
Right.
How do you know? But I'll use gaslighting because we know it happens a lot where we could say, "But Mom, you said I never said that." But Mom, you did. I never did that. But no. Okay, all right. I know it happened, but I don't want to get hit. I don't want to get attacked. I don't want to get abused for it. So I gotta let it go. Maybe it's me. Maybe I overheard. Maybe I misunderstood you. Like they're so good at it that you actually start to believe that it didn't happen.
Or talking about making promises to children that you cannot keep.
Yep.
Exactly.
Yes.
And then abusing them because they said, you said you was going to make the root beer floats on Saturday.
I never said that.
Right.
I never said that.
Make sure that you don't lie to your children. If you told them that you were going to do something and you can't do it, tell them why you can't do it. Because they're going to grow up to think that you're a liar. They're not going to have any respect for you. They're not going to come to you. They're not going to expect anything out of you, and then they're going to go outside in the world and try to get it somewhere else that might be detrimental to their health.
Right. Absolutely.
That's all I got.
All right, BGP.
Don't you do it.
All right, this is. We're gonna go ahead, and this is the end of this for now. But if you feel like we should address more things in regards to this topic, because I do think that it's a a very sensitive topic, please reach out to us. You can message us. You can hit the comment section if you can. We prefer that you like, share, and subscribe to our channel. It's free. BGP, and we are out. Bye.
Good show.